and we're not talking about, I'm not talking about the Western
it's really socialism.
Yeah, the Western ideology in regards to communism. I'm talking about being in a communal society where everybody has
this is a crazy bill.
They're not being driven by capitalism or I'm going to make more than you because I have more value, I put more work in. No, these are simple things that this is your role, this is your skill set, and this is what you contribute to everybody as a whole. You know what I'm saying? In the community. So that's been robbed, and now that has been taken to a corporate realm and say, you know what? We can use it as a political tool, so we can hide or use it as a guise to put two different factions together to create a synthesis based on what we want to occur. You have to have a thesis and an antithesis to create your synthesis. So let's take this indigenous system, let's make it incorporated, use it as a political entity, and put it against this one, so that way the people could think that we're really opposed to it, but we're actually controlling both sides to create the synthesis on how we want the things to be created. Has nothing to do with indigenous populations, what we thought, how we socially interact. It's all about corporate, and this is how I look at it, as corporate entities. And how can you make a profit off it, or how can you gain control or dominance? It has nothing to do with taking care of your community no more.
Right, now the only thing that I'll add to that was a good breakdown. The thing that I will add to it is that communism and capitalism are both rooted in the model of the nation state. And that's where the problem comes in, because it's rooted in the model of the nation state and it's indifferent towards industrialism.
Yes.
And it doesn't necessitate the development of community. So on those 3 points, it's not synonymous with African culture.
No, not at all.
To deal with African culture, you have to deal first of all with community.
First and foremost.
Okay. Then you're also dealing with the relationship with the earth and the environment.
Yep.
And then the model of development which grows from that foundation. So communism is still dealing with the nation state, which is an imaginary social political construct. It's a line on a map. It's like everybody within this border of this line is unified for some reason, which we can't verify. You know what I'm saying? But because you're unified, you pay taxes to this government structure, et cetera, et cetera. So communalism and communism are distinct in several important ways. And the reason why it's important to distinguish between these two different paradigms is because during the Cold War, the world was put on this bipolar split between communism and capitalism.
Exactly.
Everybody was forced to choose which one of these two are you. As if there's only two options
that's what I'm saying,
in all
right?
of world history. There's no other form of economic or socioeconomic or political development which can be used. And so they split the world. You have the Axis powers and Allied powers, and then it's like all the third world countries pick which side you rest on.
Exactly.
And what I'm saying is that both sides are insufficient. Neither side is truly sustainable. Neither side is indigenous. It's not connected to the integrity of what requires, human civilization. Communism is deeply interconnected with atheist thought, which is again incompatible with African thought. And if you really study the communist impact on Asia, it's instructive because you can see what came along with it. Okay, Mao Zedong, who was heralded by black socialists and communists, and
they
love that guy, man.
Because here's an interesting fact on Chairman Mao. The little red book, and then Gaddafi had the little green book. So Chairman Mao's little red book is the second most copied and distributed book in world history. The most copied and distributed book everybody knows is what they call the Bible. Second is Chairman Mao's little red book. Why is that important? Because the Chinese Revolution was a great example based on the Russian Revolution.
Yes.
The Chinese Revolution was based on the Russian Revolution. Not indirectly, but directly. Why is that important? I want to take a step back for a second and paint a big picture so that you can really see what the points that we're hitting on are. The Russian Revolution and its relation to the Chinese Revolution. China, first of all, in the 1700s was an internationally recognized sovereignty. They say China called itself the Middle Kingdom. That's not true. That's a mistranslation. The proper term is the Central Kingdom. China saw itself as the center of the world. They were not only sovereign, they had all forms of kings and states and different nations paying tributary to them. They ran the East. At the same time that Europe was working to gain global dominance over the West. So when Europe interfaces with China, it's on the grounds of mutual exchange. Because China was already a powerhouse. It wasn't needing anything from
the West. Exactly.
So they sent Laura McCartney, and all this is for a reason. I'm bringing this up for a reason. They send their diplomat, their ambassador, the plenipotentiary to China to try to get some of that tea. They like the tea out of China. The British love tea. You remember it sparked a whole situation in America. The Boston Tea Party, right? So they needed more tea.
That was that American riot right there.
Yeah. They got kind of crazy.
Rioting in the Americas.
They were addicted to tea. They wanted the tea from China. They laid out their terms in terms of what we'll give you for the tea. China said, no, we want more than that. We want more silver, more this, more that. And China's like, or America's like that, or Britain is like, that's not sufficient.
Are you taking this to the opium
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay, because I know where you're going. I know exactly where you're going.
Box Rebellion.
There we go. So we following you now.
We there.
We there.
I give me some time. I gotta paint a big picture.
This is for the people out there, though.
Right. So,
I'm gonna give the simple breakdown. But before I'm gonna give the simple breakdown for the people.
Oh, I can show you all this in the scripture.
What he's doing? He's basically showing how European thought process is very individualistic, and it's I'm getting mine. I don't care about you. And how African and basically Hebrew thought process is more so community based. That's the premise for the people.
That's the premise.
Now I'll let the brothers do the details.
What we're going to talk about now is the disruption of the African thought process. Because remember, it was Africans who traveled east into Asia and established the Sinai tradition, which is the Chinese world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was Mongolians who came afterwards, infiltrated.
There you go.
And there's others, the Huns and different groups, which created this new, miscegenated population, which we call Chinese today.
And I just want to add on to that, and the same thing happened in America too when you actually study, because there was an Africoid native population that was here before the Mongoloid population came and took over. So, go ahead, continue.
I mean, we can talk about the Mongolians. That's a whole nother era.
That's a whole nother thing, man. Yeah, but go ahead.
Mongolians, the Dalai Lama. I ain't gonna go into
No,
that.
go ahead.
Go there.
No.
You go into Hulagu Khan, who was Genghis Khan's, I think, grandson or great-grandson, who invaded Baghdad and destroyed so many books in the Grand Library of Baghdad that they said it turned the river black with ink. You know what I'm saying? These guys are world conquerors. You know what I'm saying? But they're the ones who overran the Great Wall of China, all this different stuff. So they reshaped the whole racial landscape of Asia. So you talk about Africans in Asia, you look at Asians today, you be like, where's the gap? You gotta understand what the Khan empires did to Asia.
And also look how the quote-unquote Asians or Chinese are going back to Africa.
Right.
See, people are not talking about those things.
That's the thing. But you gotta know who these new guys are and where their mind comes
There
from.
you go. That's what I'm
They're
saying.
not going back to Africa on some spiritual regeneration.
Hell no.
They're going on some political and economic
There you go. Yep. There you go.
So a lot of this is in my PowerPoint, the Eastern Dragon, how the devil deceived China, because you deal with and how it ties into our actual objective in this conversation. In this car ride on his way to this conference. We need something to talk about. So
give a final word on that real quick before we go, because I don't want to fill his phone up, but
I don't care about his phone.
Yo,
I'm about to bring my camera out. I'm about to bring my camera out.
Yeah, I'm about to just say this. Hanging with these two brothers, you get a lot of this
All
meat.
three of us, yeah.
Hey man, I'm just a humble servant, but these two brothers, this is like perfect weapon number one, and atomic bomb in the back.
Just vessels, man. Yeah, that's the hydrogen bomb. I'm the atomic bomb. So
I'm
put me
the
out
atomic
first.
bomb.
Oh, exactly.
You can be Julius Oppenheimer's creation that devastated all the time.
Right.
And if any of these two Negroes get arrested, they call me. That's what I do.
Right.
Yeah, so we
okay, but the key. All right, so the Opium Wars kick off. The
That's
Opium
what I'm about to
Wars is China getting forced. It's
There
called
you
gunboat
go.
diplomacy. They're getting forced to accept opium into the
There
country
you
to
go.
destabilize the internal fabric
There
of
you
the
go.
society.
And that's where we get the black nobility.
Right.
And
so, but the key is when you're dealing with. They were working with the East India Trading Company, the Dutch Trading Company.
That's where the black nobility
into the
comes
country.
from.
They destabilize the country's internal economy, gunboat diplomacy, they take over, and then they create something called the Century of Humiliation in China.
They did that in India too. Don't forget India.
Yeah,
East India trade went to India as well.
Yeah, I can break down India and China easy.
Yeah.
But I don't know about Mexico as much. To be honest.
But go ahead. No.
You got the 12 tribes. What are they? Issachar? I don't know.
Yeah.
But so we're dealing with the gunboat diplomacy and how it all connects up is because during the Century of Humiliation, it's 100 years. All right, it's the 1800s. And during this period, China's historic role was to supply cheap labor and natural resources to Western powers.
Exactly.
All right, they were subordinated to the British Empire. So agreed that the British Empire, the sun never set on the British Empire. Well, how did they get the East? This even connects up.
They turned them into freaking opium addicts, man.
Yeah. And this is connected up to the Middle East.
It's the crack of antiquity.
What's the connection to the Middle East? 1902. It was a London-based periodical. I think it was a British writer named Alfred T. Mahan. He publishes an article called The Orient. And in this article, he uses a word which was never used before. And the word was Middle East. Why was the term Middle East used? Because the British cartographers,
the Suez Canal, you getting there?
Were trying to create a world map based with Britain as the center and how they relate to everywhere else around the planet. So west of that was the Western world, east of that was the Eastern world. Now, if you want to go to India or China or Japan, they call that the Far East. If you wanted to get to in between the Far East and the the West or the center, you had the Near East or the Middle East. And so they would travel through the Mediterranean, go through the Suez Canal, go down through the Gulf Island on the bottom of the Red Sea, and hit India on the other side. So now they've reached the Far East.
So brother, are you trying to say the Middle East is made up?
Oh yeah, 1900s,
It's
man.
made up.
Shortly after the construction of the Suez Canal.
Oh man.
Did you hear that?
So, but they already know that. We already went in on that. So, anyway, back to China. And how this connects up with communism, socialism, and where African people need to be going to eventually. Because that's the ultimate point. China wants to get out of the century of humiliation. The Manchu dynasty was weak, all right? It was humiliating. That's why they call it the century of humiliation. They were a laughing stock of the world. You can see that movie, Ip Man, with Donnie Yen in it.
Yes.
Or
love that movie.
Hero.
Yes.
Or I think Fearless. Some of these Chinese movies talk about the century of humiliation when these Westerners are coming in with their businesses, with their schools,
fighters,
and
their
with
culture,
their culture, and their culture,
and their arrogance, making fun of them and everything.
Same system they set up in Africa. Same system
But they don't teach you what happened before all of this occurred. A lot of times they leave this history out. Everything you just finished saying about China being a dominant world power before this East Indian trade situation occurred, they don't teach you about that part of history at all. They teach you like the British went in there, and that's what I'm saying. And they went and they civilized China. They brought economy there, industrialization there, and the Chinese didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they had to train them to get back into the world market. You know what I'm saying? By civilized. This is the same lie that damn Europeans do. That's everywhere, man.
The sovereign government, they denationalized it, and then they created a context where in order for that society to thrive again, they'd have to go through the European idea.
And there's another little piece. What they did, when they got their cousin Japan first. And that's why Japan and China was beefing. When they went to Okinawa, they did the same thing to Okinawa. The Japanese came in, they already basically assimilated to the European culture, and that's Bruce Lee's movies. The whole thing was about that. It was a sellout Japanese against the indigenous Chinese.
There you go.
Chinese boxing.
All day.
So all this is connected. Why? Because we're demonstrating through study of history the logical procession, the method through which people are being brought away from their indigenous worldview and brought into the modern era.
Exactly.
Because China today is heralded as an example of international economic development and prosperity, which needs to be emulated by smaller countries.
And guess who supports that the most? Britain. And you would think like Britain, like what?
Break it down. What are the BRICS countries? BRICS. Britain, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's not by coincidence. Okay, so the China connection and its relevance is because these young Chinese are being born into a society where they see their condition and it's deplorable. They don't want to live like that. They don't want to grow up like that. So if you look into history, you want to find out who is the father of modern China. How do you shift the paradigm from being the victims of the opium wars and international economic exploitation to being, as of a few years ago, the #1 or #2 economy on the planet? What's the paradigm shift entail? It was called the May 4th movement. It's called a bunch of different things, but the point is the father of modern China is Sun Yat-sen. SUN space YAT-SEN. Sun Yat-sen. What he does, he travels to the West. He goes to the United States, he goes to Europe. He studies in their universities the methods of political administration, their history, their legal sciences, etc. And he wants to replicate them in China. He's saying that the problem is that the mode of thought which we're holding on to, which was Confucianism, is outdated. It can't compete with the modern global way of the world. So in order
wait, you gotta slow that down. And I say that because you have to let people know when they deal with the religious system and they don't have a way to upgrade it to interface with modern day times, their behinds are going to get left behind politically, economically, and even socially on some levels. And I say that because a lot of people gravitate towards religion like it's the be-all, end-all, and there's nothing else that can complement or supplement that to give you everything that you need to operate in modern-day society.
We can take it a step beyond that, and that's a good point. But just to add on to it, religion as we know it today didn't exist in antiquity.
Of course not.
The term Confucianism, I used it because it's in use today.
Yes.
But Confucianism, Taoism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, those words did not exist until the early 1800s.
Those isms.
No,
they didn't exist until you had the origins of Eurocentric comparative religious anthropology. and how they wanted to classify everyone else's culture as a religion. Why? Because if you classify it as a religion, according to modern social political thought, religion and state are two different things.
There you go.
So you can govern a society.
Wait, just like the misnomer, church and state.
Right.
Misnomer, I said. It's the same thing because they do that purposely to separate it, because what it does is that not only does it demoralize those who have that cultural system that they call religion, but number two, it's not in the modern sense that we would have it today that, okay, well, and this is what we see, a subterfuge that's going on today in regards to, what happened?
You talking?
Oh, nah, that's cool. So we're going to put it on you. There we go. The subterfuge that's going on today in regards to indigenous culture. This is pretty much what we're getting back to, and we just compliment each other what we're saying. I just want to throw things out there because I want the people to see how it personally impacts them, and when they hear these terms. There you go. But go ahead. Yeah.
So you're dealing with how this process takes place.
This is 15
as it relates to religion, so to speak. How's your battery life going?
Nah, end it. I'm gonna bring my camera out.
Yo, this is just a small taste of what happens when RBG Hebrews get and start talking and just building. Just wanted to show y'all that. We're heading to this campus trip.
We're dealing with and stuff, man.
Yeah, we just talking, man. The Hebrews, we're not just all about ideology and doctrine, man. We actually read books and study professionals and history.
Read.
Exactly, read. But man, peace and shalom, good people.